Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 538 2020 election forecast. So this is a long time coming, and they finally released this on their website, and I'm really excited to go ahead and jump into it. So this is my second time seeing it. I woke up really early to go ahead and take a look at the 538 model. When I say really early, I mean like 9 a.m., but looking at the numbers here, I think it's telling us what every other model has been saying for the past couple of months, that Joe Biden is, quote, favored to win the election. And that makes sense. Let's go ahead and take a look at where they show Vice President Biden ahead, but let's talk about what they add into this. So a lot of these are pretty much 50% polls and 50% previous election data. So 2016, 2018, demographic data, etc. So looking at, they cover a couple of questions, but wait, should you even trust the polls? Hillary Clinton led in the polls in 2016, right? Well, yes, Hillary Clinton did lead. I made an entirely separate video, and you can see it at the top right corner of the screen, talking about why this election is not similar to 2016 in any respect, and also talking about whether or not the polls are correct or incorrect from 2016. Spoiler alert, they weren't too far off. So looking at where they show Joe Biden and Donald Trump, this actually is a little bit more conservative of a model than we see in some other, The Economist has Biden at a 90% chance of winning. The JHK forecast, I believe, is around 75%. Plural votes also 75% for Vice President Biden. So this scenario, this 538 model, which was the most favorable to Donald Trump in 2016, is also the most favorable map that we're seeing from respected models. So Donald Trump is around a 29% chance at winning the election compared to Joe Biden's 71% chance. It is unfortunate for the Trump campaign that even in the best model, in the model that gives them the best chance at winning, it's still only a 3 out of 10 chance at victory. Joe Biden being at 71% following his VP announcement is only likely to rise, especially with data starting to trail in that actually puts him at a much better position than where he was just a few days ago. So yes, the lead has narrowed from where it was a month ago, but again, Biden was riding high. We were talking about a peak for Vice President Biden. You don't ride a peak into a general election when it's over, 80 days away. So Biden being at a 71% chance of victory now, I think is very good. And they actually have a number of scenarios, and then they have this thing called the winding path to victory. So they talk about the states where Joe Biden is above 270 or Donald Trump will be above 270. Pretty much they give us a general idea of where these states are going to go, and they start from the most Republican state down to the most Democratic state or district, the District of Columbia. And both of them are actually districts. Nebraska's third, and D.C. That's really interesting. So congressional districts. I don't know if you consider D.C. one, but they do have a non-voting body. Whatever, it's really weird over in D.C. But looking at where this winds down, pretty much all of the safe states make sense. I mean, we have West Virginia up here, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alabama, Kentucky. Did not mean to click Kentucky. No, we have to scroll down all the way again. And then it pretty much gets down to the swing states. So passing pretty much at this point where we're passing Alaska, I guess you could say Missouri is the final cutting off point. Alaska, South Carolina, Texas, Iowa, Maine second, Georgia, Ohio, North Carolina are all states that are expected to go to Donald Trump. These were states that were decided by less than 15% in 2016. Let's go ahead and take a look at Alaska. So Biden actually has a 19% chance at winning Alaska. Hillary Clinton was not even close to coming within a possibility of winning here. Now, obviously, Biden is probably going to lose Alaska. It looks like he's going to lose by 10%, but that's a lot better than where Hillary Clinton was. And a lot of the data does indicate that the race might be narrowing up. And that's not to say that Biden should even consider going to Alaska, but it's just important to note that some of these states, including South Carolina, are also expected to be a little bit closer. So Biden actually is expected to have a better chance at winning Alaska than South Carolina, but it looks like the vote might be a little bit narrower in South Carolina just because of the vote share there, but this actually could spell out bad news for Republicans in the future. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final states. It is kind of annoying that I have to scroll down each time, but we'll get through it. So looking at Texas, North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, Maine second, and Iowa, these are the states that are swing states that are actually expected to go to Donald Trump. It looks like North Carolina is going to be by the smallest margin according to 538, and Texas by the largest margin. But even in Texas's largest margin, they give Joe Biden a 29% chance of victory. They expect Trump to win by 5% statewide. That's down from 9% in 2016, which is down from 15% in 2012. So significantly narrowing up in presidential election years. Again, future swing state, if not future Democratic state. So Texas, narrower than before. So they expect Iowa actually to vote to the left. of Texas in 2020. They did not do that in 2016. They expect Maine's 2nd District to vote to the left of Texas. That did not happen in 2016. Georgia is expected to vote to the left. That happened. Ohio, barely. When I say barely, I mean barely. Looking at the margin there, it looks like Biden and Trump have around an equal chance of victory. Obviously, Trump has the edge, but looking at the popular vote, it's only a 1% margin of victory for Donald Trump. So while Ohio is expected to go to Trump, it is still very narrow. In North Carolina, it's even narrower. Biden has a 49% chance, and Trump has a 51% chance. This has been going back and forth, now, but pretty much has been leading for Vice President Biden. And like I said, Biden's lead has narrowed up from where it was a month ago. If you take a look at his chance at winning the presidency just around, June, July period of time, it was higher than where it stands today. So I will say that Biden's lead has not really, I guess it has shrunk nationwide in terms of chances of winning, but not so much in the national polls. So I don't know why. I do understand why, but it shouldn't be too drastically different. Looking at the electoral votes, it's just the addition of North Carolina versus not including it in the model for Joe Biden. As you can see in the previous page, I'm not going to go there, but North Carolina was expected to go to Biden throughout the entirety of the model up until now. So looking at Nebraska 2nd, Arizona, Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, these are all states that went to states or districts that went to Donald Trump in 2016. And I think it is important to note that when you take a look at Michigan, Biden has around the same chance of winning Michigan than Trump does at Alaska. Keep that in mind. Trump is expected to carry Alaska by roughly the same margin that Biden is expected to carry Michigan. It's off by 1-2%, but Biden is expected to have, a 6-point lead or win over Donald Trump. So it actually at its peak was around 10%. But looking at the popular vote, it definitely has narrowed up. But the margin, the chances of victory haven't really changed too dramatically. Going from 89% to an 81% chance of victory obviously is a change and is important to note. But Joe Biden is more than likely going to carry Michigan at the end of the day. The states that are mildly more competitive, but not really, are Wisconsin. Biden has a 70% chance at winning there. Going to go ahead and take a look at Pennsylvania. Biden has a 73% chance at winning there. So I actually do think that Biden should be a little bit more confident than Hillary Clinton in these states, considering he's from Pennsylvania, and that Michigan really is expected to vote to the left of New Hampshire, of Nevada, of Minnesota. These are all states that went to Secretary Clinton in 2016, so keep that in mind. The fact that Minnesota is expected to be narrower than Michigan is important to note as well. So Colorado and Virginia and New Mexico and Maine seem to be all out of reach for President Trump. Pretty much once I cut it off at Maine, President Trump could theoretically win all of these blue states, but it's probably not likely. Looking at Arizona, pretty much Biden is expected to carry Arizona. He's giving a 55% chance. So this is actually pretty narrow. It's narrower than some other states. It's expected to go to the left of Nebraska's 2nd District, and that's it. So Arizona is probably going to be very close. Florida as well. These states are hotly contested, and Arizona was a previously Republican state or Republican stronghold, so it absolutely should be competitive. But looking at this model, this is only good news for Vice President Biden. So they actually have tipping points. These are states that are expected to tip the scale in favor of one candidate or another. And the states with a less than 1% chance of being the tipping point are all of these safe states. Really doesn't matter. But taking a look at the tipping points here, Florida is the likeliest, then Pennsylvania, then Wisconsin, and then the rest are under 10%. But that makes sense. Wisconsin was the largest margin of victory for Donald Trump in the 3 Rust Belt states percentage-wise in 2016. Pennsylvania carries a lot of electoral weight, double the amount Wisconsin has, and Florida has almost triple the amount Wisconsin has. So Florida and Pennsylvania definitely high up there, 20 and 29 electoral votes for Pennsylvania and Florida respectively. Definitely could make or break the election for the rest of these candidates. Honestly, the rest are probably going to vote how they're expected to today. All of my predictions, except for North Carolina, agree with pretty much everything that we're seeing on this 538 model. So I would say that makes sense. But also looking at the tipping points, we're probably going to see it happen in Florida or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, and then everything above that will pretty much be inconsequential, because once Florida goes blue and he's over that 270 mark, the rest probably won't matter. Obviously, they won't matter because you win the election regardless. But looking at the forecast changing, like I said, it has changed from 79% chance at its peak to 71%. But 71% against an incumbent president who carried the election 4 years ago, obviously. This is good news for Vice President Biden. I don't see how you could take this away as something being negative. And I understand that the 538 model gave Donald Trump a higher chance of victory. Actually, that works against the point, but gives a higher chance of victory for Donald Trump in 2016. But the model has been readjusted to account for all of the errors from 4 years ago. They've had 4 years to perfect a new model and new polling and rate pollsters based off their ability to gauge voters that may have turned away polls in the past or have lied to pollsters. A lot of the time when they adjust for these ratings, we talk about the pollster's bias and who they're questioning and what they're doing wrong versus right. And they put that all into their model, and it definitely is a lot more accurate than where it was 4 years ago. And the data definitely is a lot more accurate. So I think also one thing that I noticed right away is that on the states with the closest races, they did not include Michigan. You see all of these swing states, and you'd think, so when I clicked on Wisconsin, I expected to go ahead and see Michigan. And then when I clicked on Pennsylvania, I expected to see Michigan again. But then I'm starting to realize Georgia is narrower than Michigan, so is North Carolina and Ohio and Florida and Arizona and Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin and Texas. They're all narrow. Actually, Texas maybe not as narrow as the rest, but the rest of these are all narrower than Michigan in terms of its percent chance of actually, no, Texas. Biden has a better chance of winning Michigan than Trump does Texas. And that makes sense. I mean, this entire country has moved further leftward than where it was 4 years ago, or is expected to vote further leftward if you can't compare it to 2018 if you don't want to, but you definitely could, considering that the Democrats are entering with the same type of energy that they had in the midterm elections. And I know people love to bring up the point 2010 did not land Mitt Romney in the White House, but the generic ballot data did not suggest that 2012 was anywhere similar to a 2010 wave year. 2020 is shaping up to be exactly what 2018 was. So when the Democrats won the national popular vote by 9%, despite leading by only 8%, and they're leading now by 8%, and the popular vote data for Biden is Democrats plus 8% or Biden plus 8%, all of the data is starting to give us this conclusion that 2020 is shaping up to be a very similar repeat to 2018, which is why a lot of these states, including states that went for Donald Trump, some of them are actually narrower than states that only narrowly went for him. Texas was a 9-point margin. Iowa was a 10-point margin. Ohio was an 8-point margin. Now they're all competitive for Joe Biden. This is a huge swing from where it was just 4 years ago. So this model has a lot to jump into. We're going to make some videos talking about it because this has been, waited on for quite some time now and finally being released. But Biden is now, I think did this change? Or maybe I'm forgetting something. Maybe I'm looking at things. Oh, this is Pennsylvania. I was like, what happened with the national model that changed? So 71 to 29 right now, but this definitely could change, but it doesn't tend to fluctuate too much. And we probably won't see it change much before Election Day unless something dramatically shifts in the overall American electorate, which we all know how boring the American electorate is. Probably won't happen. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and put into your browser and then join the Discord. On your screen, there's a video that you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.